Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the forecast for each life path number for the upcoming full moon lunar eclipse that's occurring on March 3rd, 2026. Before we get into the forecast, this is a general reading. If you would like your own personal numerology reading, please book some time with me. My information's in the description box below, and I'd love to work with you. Also, if you're interested in hearing about how this eclipse will be affecting the collective in the universal cycle that it brings forth, pay attention to the forecast that I put out for the month of March. That's just the numerology overview of March, as well as the forecast that I put out for the first week of March. That's again just the numerology of, because I'm going to go into depth into what this eclipse will bring in collectively. And those forecasts will be coming out later this week into next week. All right, for now, let's go ahead and take a look at each life path number. Life path number 1, you have got money on the mind for this eclipse, or there's something coming in around money, power, status, influence, your career, your expertise, your authority, how you share that, reclaiming your power in some way, stepping into your power in some way. But there's a really strong emphasis on sort of reaping what you have sown when it comes to the material world. So this is one of those cycles where, you're going to see great rewards at this time, or potentially over the course of the next 6 months to a year, the cycle of this eclipse. Or you could see some losses. And it all depends on the effort that you've been putting forth, where you've been putting your energy, how you've been sharing that energy. Again, if you've been showing up, which I know this isn't describing my ones, but if you've been showing up in a way that has been sort of doing anything you can do at all costs to get ahead, stepping on whoever you need to step on to win the prize or to achieve what you're looking to achieve, this could bring in a cycle of significant loss that you have to move through and recognize the sort of error of your ways. But if you're somebody who's been, following your heart, showing up with integrity, doing what was necessary in order to get ahead, recognizing that you're not doing it alone, you're not an island, that any success that we achieve is, somehow intertwined with the people that we connect with along the way. And so that needs to be recognized. But this is one of those cycles that can include some degree of karma. And so there is this notion of, if you have a karmic debt that you need to repay, you might see people, places, things come in that create the experiences in order for you to satisfy that debt. But again, if you've been, if you have a surplus in your karmic bank, then this is one of those cycles that can be very, very rewarding for you in many, many ways. And so again, there's no punity when it comes to numerology or astrology. It's really just saying, hey, this is where we either need to pivot and change the direction we're moving in and do better, or this is what we need to continue to build upon and why. So this can be one of those cycles that really helps you to understand that. And that can also inform the decisions that you make moving forward under this eclipse energy. So there is a very strong career focus, a very strong focus on, again, achieving your expertise, fine-tuning that expertise, becoming that authority, getting it out into the world, reclaiming your power, balancing powers, whatever needs to kind of come in. You could also, for some of you, this is a very small population probably, but for some of you, you could see some kind of significant inheritance come in at this time, and you have to move through the experience of what are you going to do with it, and how are you going to maximize that, and not only use it for your own personal gains, but how can you share that abundance in some way? Whether it's you use that money to go to get further education, and then you share that wealth of knowledge with others in some way, sharing that abundance. Or if you become a philanthropist, whatever. But there's a strong emphasis here for the next 6 months to a year as the storyline of this eclipse unfolds for you all. Now, it's interesting because I pulled a tarot card for you, and you've got the King of Pentacles. So very much aligned with this 8 energy. And really what this says is it's pretty much the same thing, right? If you've been showing up, putting in the effort, showing up with integrity, slowly but surely moving ahead and gaining that momentum, climbing that mountain, so to speak, and doing it in a way that not only serves you, but serves others as well, then you could see great success come from this, whatever success means to you. But there's a very strong, obviously, energy of being able to manage your money and manage it well, being able to sort of demand that you get paid what you're worth. So this could be a great time for asking for a promotion, something along those lines, taking some kind of leadership role, which is perfect and right aligned with one energy. So there's a lot here around paying attention to your relationship to money, how you show up, and power, how you show up to those energies, how you incorporate them in your life, how you share them, how you equalize them, right? If we're talking about power. So there's a lot here for you all. But at the end of the day, it's saying, it's your effort, showing up with integrity, all of those things, it's going to be worth it in the end because there's a lot of achievement waiting at the end for you. And again, the King of Pentacles is a very stable, sound, grounded, very wise energy that, again, uses the tools, money, power, status, influence, etc., for good, and is able to do that with a level head. So there's a lot here for you all to embrace as you move through this very powerful eclipse. I hope it's a great one. Life path number 2, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 9. And so with this cycle, over the course of the next 6 months to a year, as the storyline unfolds, this could feel a little bit sensitive. There could be opportunities for greater healing, whether it's yourself, some kind of chronic illness, whether it's a relationship or an experience that you've had that you've been sort of carrying with you. This is an excellent time to really get grounded, to, work with the people who have the expertise to be able to help you to heal that, work with that, manage your emotions, whatever comes up for you around this time when it has to do with going deeper and opening yourself up to maybe being more vulnerable, letting people in, sharing what you feel that you need to share in order to get it off your chest in a healthy way, gaining the tools that can help you to sort of, again, release any of that heavier baggage or those heavier burdens that you might be carrying. This is an excellent time to do that. And it can bring in that layer of sensitivity that can feel uncomfortable, but this would be the time that is going to really best serve you to dive in deep. So it's kind of that energy of really getting in there and cleaning out what needs cleaning out so that you can allow it to heal. Now, for some, this might also bring about some kind of loss, release, letting go, getting something off your plate, like clearing the clutter, so to speak, whether it's body, mind, spirit, or the clutter in your attic or your garage or whatever. This is like such a beautiful opportunity to really, again, get grounded, get focused, get your house in order. And by house, of course, I mean, again, body, mind, spirit, or the actual structure of your home. And it's going to be to your benefit to do the necessary work that will clear that clutter, that will open you up to the next chapter, the next opportunity, the next person, place, or thing that's ready to come in, but that can't fit yet because there's too much of that clutter. So this is a great cycle to do that. Also, this is a great cycle to connect to your spirituality more deeply. And what do I mean by that? I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about getting very connected to your sense of self, like coming back to you and getting reconnected or more deeply connected to your sense of self, your soul, and to be open to the inspirations or the ideas or the intuitive downloads that may come in for you during this cycle, because they're likely to be quite profound. And I would suggest paying attention to your dreams, your daydreams, paying attention to what someone says that really resonates with you and can possibly move you in an entirely new direction, or can help you to build upon the foundation that you've already built for yourself. But it might look very different than how you were sort of expecting it to look or the direction you were previously moving in. So this is about, again, opening yourself up to sort of the bigger messages that want to come in for you at this time, the opportunities for healing, as well as different perspectives and different ways to see not only your own experience, but the experience of others. We'll also say this brings in a level of not necessarily charity, but possibly volunteer work, where you're meant to shift your emphasis from yourself and your own personal struggles and shift the focus to the external of how you can be of greater service. How can you step into a purpose greater than just self? And typically in doing so, we start to recognize the solution to our own problems. When we look to help others, when we look to help empower, uplift, inspire others, we end up doing it for ourselves as well. So this is such a great cycle for you all to be able to do that. Ultimately, this cycle is helping you to release what no longer serves you or what is standing in your way. And when we move through a 9 cycle, especially when it's happening at the time of an eclipse, it can remove what needs removing that we didn't have the courage to remove. So that can be faulty belief systems, that can be, addictions, habits, etc. It's going to require us to do the work, of course, but it will bring in what's necessary for us to be able to fully recognize what's needed and then take appropriate action. So I will say to, if things fall away at this time, whether it's a relationship or again, a thought pattern or an addiction or whatever sort of leaves your experience during the next 6 months to a year, you're really being asked to, allow it to leave. Don't hold on to it. Don't try to overly attach to it. Allow it to leave and move with the emotions that come up for you around that, but have the understanding that anything that is removed or released at this time is for your highest good and for your own personal evolution. I pulled a tarot card for you all and very much aligned with this energy. You got the 8 of Cups. And so with the 8 of Cups, again, there's leaving some kind of situation where there's sensitivity in that. There's emotions tied to it. It's a situation that would have been difficult to leave, perhaps, on your own. But the beauty of this is that you have the vibration of the 9 behind you, helping you to move forward. And so again, with the 8 of Cups, it's time to move in the new direction. It's time to move forward. So in that, we have to release what's holding us back, what's keeping us stuck, or what's keeping us complacent. So you might see that you are pushed in a very new direction at this time. And I'm not saying this is the time to, throw caution to the wind and just go head first into this new direction or whatever, or uproot your life entirely. But you are being asked to explore, be curious, and entertain the idea of a new opportunity, a new option that may mean leaving the old ways or the old patterns behind. Life path number 3. So you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 10-1 for this eclipse. And so what's interesting with this is the 10-1 typically brings in some kind of new beginning, new kind of cycle that can have a landscape that you aren't familiar with. And so it can take you down an absolutely new path that's going to require you to continue to show up, to decide what you want that path to look like. Like you're going to have input, as we always do, right? But for this, because the vibration of the 0 is here, you're going to have extensive input on what you say yes to, what you accept, what you resonate with, what you, again, engage with. You're a very strong active participant for the next 6 months to a year. And again, I would say we always are, but when we move through a 10-1 cycle, it's pushing us to take some kind of significant action. But it's also reminding us that we stand at the easel with the clean slate, the clean canvas, with all the colors and tools that we need to paint the most beautiful experience. And we're the ones who get to decide what that looks like ultimately. And so because it's this double 1 energy, right? 10-1, 2 1s, it's reminding you that you can have whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that you want to some extent, right? We do have limitations, but you can pretty much have, like if it comes in as an inspiration or an idea, you can make it happen. You can make it a reality. And that's what that 0 energy is reminding you of. And the 1 energy is, but you have to take the effort. You have to take the action. You have to put in the effort. You have to show up. You have to try the new things. You have to take the risk. You have to think outside the box and be open to new perspectives and new ways of doing things, while also embracing what it is that you desire, what it is that you want, how best to advocate for yourself, all of those things. But as you move with this 1 energy, you could find that you feel very motivated to pursue something, to move in a particular direction. And you're being encouraged to do that while remembering that you are the magician who gets to decide what the landscape looks like. Like you're literally painting the landscape as you go. So it's kind of that energy that is that reminder that if you dream it, you can make it happen. You might not be able to do it on your own, but you can make it happen. And so who do you need to call in to assist? Who is it that can help you to get started? The 1 energy says you're the visionary. You're the one who's going to blaze the path, blaze the trail. And you're meant to lead alongside of others, but it's your vision, it's your idea. So what is it that you want to bring to life? And it can be like, a new living experience, a new relationship, a new career, you name it, right? Depends on where it shows up in your life. But it's that reminder that first you have to decide what it is that you want, what it is that you want to create, what it is that you want your experience to look like. And then, as I always say, what decisions and what actions do you need to take in order to help you to get there? So this is a beautiful time to, solidify that strategy, solidify that plan that will help you to continue to show up, continue to persevere, continue to pivot as needed without getting down on yourself, and to be open to what life brings your way over the next 6 months to a year, because it's likely to be quite profound, and it's likely to be very different than what you have experienced in the past, perhaps, because of that 0 energy. But the key is to remember that it doesn't happen without you. You are the key player in your own experience. So if you want something to happen, you're going to have to show up and make it happen. And along this path, it's going to help you to recognize, again, what are my limitations? Where is it that I need to call in people who have strengths in these areas, who can help me to achieve what I'm hoping to achieve in the coming months, years, etc. Also, you could see a tremendous amount of clarity come in at this time that helps you to really see clearly what's next, see clearly what it is that, what direction you want to be moving in. So if there's been some cloudiness, some fogginess, some feelings of like uncertainty, you could get very clear on, again, what's next. You might not see very far into the future, but you might see close enough to be like, okay, I know the next step I need to take in order to move me in the direction that I want to be moving in. And ultimately, this 10-1 energy is very benefic. It's sort of like Jupiter energy. So, it sort of expands what it touches. And so this could be that energy of like the tide turning for you. This could be the time where things start falling into place, where things have been really difficult. You start to see momentum, but not just momentum. You start to see all the pieces come together and it all starts to make sense. But not only that, you start to see the rewards of all the effort you've been putting in. So this can be a very rewarding time as well as an opportunity to move forward in a new direction. So there's the potential for a lot to happen around this eclipse for you all. Now I pulled a tarot card and you've got the Ace of Wands, which is so aligned with this 10-1 energy, because the Ace of Wands is like this significant inspiration or significant idea or significant aha moment that's coming in for you at this time that not only brings a lot of clarity, but puts a lot of wind in your sails. It reignites that hope or that optimism for what is possible. And it reminds you, again, that you are the magician who is at the helm that makes it all possible, right? Working in tandem with the unseen, of course. But pay attention to your dreams, your daydreams, what comes in for you at this time, what speaks to you, what feels aligned for you, what feels true for you, and let it inform your decisions and your choices as you move forward. With this energy of the Ace of Wands, this is a start, a fresh beginning. But instead of not knowing what the next step is, with the Ace of Wands coming through, you're going to know very clearly what the next step is, or what it is, what vision you want to pursue, what goal you want to pursue, what direction you want to move in. And there's going to be probably no doubt about that. So just continue to move in that direction. Beautiful energy here. Pay attention to the inspirations and ideas that come your way, because you're meant to take those and turn them into something real, bring them to life, turn them into something tangible, especially with this one energy. And it will require strength and perseverance and taking risks and learning from the consequences of those risks, how they turn out, building upon what worked, releasing what didn't, all while remembering that the universe and your soul has your back. Your job is going to be to say yes to those ideas and those inspirations and hit the ground running to bring them to life. Life path number 4. So we're going to be working with the vibration of the 11-2. And so this is a very ethereal, very it's a feeling, right? Because the 11-2 is a master number. It's the inspirational leader, and it pushes us to, do what inspires us, to follow our passions, our desires, where we feel most alive, where we're able to, again, share our gifts and do what we feel we're good at. So it's pushing us in that direction to some degree in some area of our life. And with this cycle, it could also bring in heightened psychic energy. So you might find that you tap into some of your more psychic gifts. Your dreams could be very vivid at this time. Your daydreams. Pay attention to where your mind goes when you're kind of like off in space, right? And daydreaming. Your intuitive abilities could be very much heightened at this time. And 4 energy is a very intuitive number. So we're meant to tap into our intuition. It's a very heart-led, very intuitive life path number. And sometimes part of the journey is figuring out how to do that or opening ourselves up to it. And when we move through an 11-2 cycle, it can absolutely bring in experiences that can help us to flex that muscle. This is also one of those times where we're likely going to be asked to bring something from the state of concept or the point of concept to something tangible, something useful in the world, something real, right? So taking it from the idea stage to the tangible. Over the course of the next 6 months to a year, as we move through the energies of this eclipse, we could see opportunities or things could develop where we have an opportunity to develop our creative potential or hone in our skills. So you might go back to school, or you might take courses or a workshop or something like that. Again, that allows you to focus your energy on expanding your gifts, your knowledge, your talents in some distinct way. And through those experiences, whether again it's like going back to school or taking a workshop or taking an art class or doing something that again is a hobby but that lights you up and inspires you, you could absolutely open yourself up to significant opportunities. Let's put it that way over the course of the next 6 months to a year. Follow your dreams, follow your visions, follow the revelations under this influence, and you will get the most out of it for sure. But it also requires you to say yes to those opportunities. So if you have fear around that, that's going to keep you from again, being curious, exploring, thinking outside the box, doing something differently, expanding those horizons. So you have to say yes, you have to put yourself out there. The other thing with this cycle that's really beautiful is that it can absolutely bring in, like if you've already been kind of working in the realm of your talents, gifts, etc., you could see that you start to see those talents be recognized in some way by someone who could offer you some kind of promising position, or you might receive some kind of public recognition or public acclaim in some way for your personal effort, for what you have, the work that you have been doing. Maybe you are going back to school and you just ace your courses or something, right? And your teacher recognizes that in you. And so, it can just, again, put the wind back in your sails, give you that confidence, show you that, yes, you are on the right path. You're taking the right steps that are most aligned for you in this moment. And so I would say, don't be surprised if the spotlight falls on you during this, again, the next 6 months to a year. And again, in some way that highlights the path and the trajectory that you're on, showing you that it's the right one. Now, also 11-2 cycles can be somewhat of a testing or challenging cycle, but it kind of pushes us to channel those energies, of what we have to kind of overcome or move through into something worthwhile. So, if we can do that, then we'll continue to accomplish what it is that we set our mind to accomplish. And the 11-2 will help us to do that. And it will also help to make sure that we are on the path that is most aligned for us because it's the one that inspires us. So I would say don't be afraid of any shifts or turns or pivots or detours that you're being asked to take during the next 6 months to a year, because they are for a reason. I pulled a tarot card for us and we got the Knight of Wands. So this is interesting. This is momentum. This is movement. This is potentially fast moving energy that's moving us ahead. But it's interesting because the Knight of Wands, the direction that the energy is facing is in the past. So I feel like something from the past could resurface over the next 6 months to a year that's very significant in your momentum and movement forward. Maybe a new path opens up for you that's tied to something that either you were working on in the past or you picked back up from the past, or a relationship from the past could come back at this time, or an idea from the past could come back at this time that you're meant to spend some time with and see what it has to offer you, because there's either more information coming from something from the past or again, you're being asked to pick something back up because the timing is right now, that's going to really play a key role in the shaping of your future. So I would say definitely don't be too quick to dismiss anything that resurfaces at this time because you feel like, okay, it's from the past. I don't feel like you'll have that urge because I do feel like you'll feel the pull towards whatever this is. So just be aware of that. There's potentially some aha moments, some greater wisdom, some inspirations that could absolutely be coming your way because the time is now right. So big energy here. Life path number 5, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 12-3 for this eclipse. And this is one of those moments, it's going to be about probably for the next 6 months to a year as the storyline unfolds for you all. But it's an opportunity to slow down a little bit. It's an opportunity to kind of pause in some area or many areas of your life where you then will have the opportunity to be curious and explore or contemplate or evaluate sort of where you're on in your path, whether it's in a relationship or career or creative project or belief systems or whatever, your health, whatever. But it's an opportunity to slow down and to touch base with yourself to see, does this align with my values, my truth, like what I want for myself, how I want to show up every day, how I want to invest my energy, how I want to engage? Does it feel true and authentic for me in this moment? If the answer is yes, then you'll continue to build on that. You'll continue to move in that direction. But if the answer keeps coming back as no, or you feel sort of unsettled, or you feel like, again, like your day-to-day, your experience is very incongruent with who you believe yourself to be or what you want for yourself, then this is a beautiful cycle, especially falling under an eclipse, that can help you to get back on track, but not necessarily on track with the on the train that you were moving on, but on perhaps on a new train that looks very, very different. And it's not like you're going to have all the answers right at once, but it can certainly open you up to those answers as you continue along the path, right? And for some of you, this can be one of those cycles where, again, as you slow down, you start to recognize that where you've been, again, like investing your energy or sharing what you thought were talents that served you, or how you're showing up in how you contribute, is not how you want to continue to show up. So this is an opportunity for some pivoting, some redirection that can help you to feel much more aligned with how you choose to invest and share your very sacred energy in this world, and who you choose to share it with. Because the 3 energy is also about like socializing and collaborations and partnerships and working together. So it gives you an opportunity to really go deeper into, again, your own personal experiences and see what modifications can you make, what changes can you make, what decisions and choices can you make that can help to move you in a different direction, but that feels very much more true and authentic for you. And again, it won't happen overnight, but your job is to sort of recognize where that shift is needed. If it's needed, you might, this eclipse might just show you like, hey, everything's great. Everything's working well. Everything is like very cohesive and, you're on the right path. So keep going. And so you'll just continue to enhance, what you have to offer and share your gifts in a beautiful light and all those things. And your relationships can continue to grow and enhance and all those things. But this is one of those times where you don't want to rush the process. You want to, again, take your time. So definitely honor that if that comes in for you. The other side of this is you could see this be a very social time, an opportunity for greater travel or, again, curiosity, play, tapping into your imagination more, connecting with your inner child. And if you can't travel to another location, then perhaps reading a book or watching a movie that expands that horizon for you, that opens you up in some way, can be very, very profound at this time. And can, again, connect you to parts of yourself that you weren't aware of or that you've been disconnected from for quite some time. So it can be a very powerful cycle, but you have to slow down in order to receive the messages that are trying to come through for you. Now, 3 energy can be a lot of fun, especially when it's combined with 5s, right? And so I would say be careful about going to extremes during this time, like extreme excess, even extreme deprivation. You don't want to go to either extreme. Keep coming back to the center, all things in moderation. That's your motto for this lifetime. But don't deprive yourself the opportunities to connect with new people, to see new things, to open yourself up to new experiences, because it's all going to help you to learn more about yourself and what you want to create in this world with your own personal, unique gifts and tools that you've been given to create that experience and world. I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the Devil card, and this is aligned with this energy, mainly because the 12 is here. And again, it just brings back that opportunity over the course of the next 6 months to a year to see where it is that you are sabotaging yourself. You're standing in your own way, or maybe you're sabotaging your relationships out of fear. Maybe you're in a relationship and you want to break up with the person because you would rather like separate than get hurt in the future. So you're letting fear sort of drive your choices and your decisions and your actions. And with the Devil card coming through, it's the reminder that you hold the keys to your own freedom. So if you have fear that's keeping you from expressing yourself in a way that you feel called to express yourself, if it's, again, sabotaging your relationships in some way, or sabotaging putting yourself out there in a way that feels different or uncomfortable, that could possibly open doors for you, you have to deconstruct that fear. You have to figure out what is it that's actually holding you back, because in essence, you're probably holding yourself back. Like sometimes there are life experiences that stand in our way that we have to figure out. But a lot of times when we get right down to it, which also the 12-3 will help us to see more clearly, but when we kind of dial in and look more closely, it's usually ourselves that are standing in our way. Like something is keeping us from just getting started, from trying, from just saying yes. And usually it's us. Right? And so we end up sabotaging ourselves. So with the Devil energy coming through in conjunction with this 12-3 energy, there's something you're meant to look at when it comes to how am I holding myself back? And how can I move beyond that? Because therein lies the freedom of expression that 5s strive for. This is a lifetime for that. So when you move through cycles like the 12-3 and Devil energy, it's just that reminder that, to just take a closer look. Pause, take a closer look and see what is it that's really holding me back from doing this, or from having this conversation, or from trying this new thing, or from traveling to the place I've always wanted to travel to. What is it that's really holding me back? And is it a rational fear that can, that needs to be, addressed? Or is it an irrational fear that has no weight except for the weight that we're giving it? Very powerful cycle for you all. Hope it's a great one. Life path number 6. So for you all, you're going to be working with the vibration of the 13-4 for this eclipse. And the 13-4, anytime it comes in a cycle, it can be somewhat intense, but it's really about greater transformation and growth and evolution. But it's really about recognizing where it is that we have been sort of building on a foundation that's not working, where there's a lot of cracks, and we need to figure out how to mend those cracks, how to build something better. So again, wherever that shows up in your life, maybe it's relationships or a career, or how you're showing up in the world, or how you feel about yourself, how you speak to yourself, etc. But what's interesting here is, the 13-4 usually puts us in a place where we can have some kind of greater vision about what it is, a goal or what we want to create or how we want to show up or contribute in the world. And then we're meant to persevere with that goal, no matter the obstacles, no matter the opposition, no matter how difficult. Because at the core of the 13-4 cycle, it's the opportunity to build something truly beautiful, truly beneficial from something not so beautiful, from something not beneficial. And so this is your opportunity to do that in some area of your life, but it's going to require the dismantling, the sort of tearing down of what's not working, and then figuring out how to build something better, and then taking the action and committing to actually building something better. So it's like this full circle type of energy that pushes you to recognize where something is not working, figure out what you need to do in order to help make it work or to build something better, and then take the action to build that thing that's better, or that experience that's better, or that relationship that's better. So for some, this might be going to couples counseling, or, like doing things that you used to do when you first started dating to reignite that, to remember why you fell in love in the first place, something like that, right? If it has to do with your career, it could be taking a course or a workshop or something like that, again, reignites your interest in what it is that you're doing, as well as helps you to level up in what it is that you're offering. So it's that kind of energy with the 13-4, and it just depends on where it shows up in your life. But what's interesting is I pulled a tarot card for you all also, and you got the 3 of Swords. And so when this comes in tandem with the 13-4, it's that energy of turning your pain or your sense of loss or something like that into something constructive. And it's not about bypassing. It's not about any of that stuff, right? It's about really, truly embracing your grief or your pain or your anger or whatever the deeper emotion is that is continuously surfacing for you around maybe an experience or a loss or something like that you had to move through or are moving through. And it's helping you, especially in tandem with the 13-4, it's helping you to find a way to channel that energy into something constructive. And usually what we find is, again, without detaching or disassociating or bypassing, but when we tend to funnel our energy, our charged emotions, our charged electricity, right, the emotions, into something constructive, then we're able to create something beautiful from something not so beautiful. It's when we take those emotions and we channel it into something destructive, whether it's against ourselves or against others, it creates that destruction that just creates more negativity in our lives. And it just creates more of that same energy. And so again, for the next 6 months to a year, you're really being asked to go deep into some area of your life where either it needs to be broken down and rebuilt in a different way, and there will be likely strong emotions attached to that you're going to have to transmute into something constructive as opposed to destructive. Or it's something that you've gone through and you've got to find a way, again, to build something beautiful from something not so beautiful. And only you know what that's going to look like. So this is an opportunity really for you, again, to turn your pain into some kind of gain. And again, without disassociating or suppressing or whatever. But it's a very strong opportunity for greater empowerment when it comes to working with your emotions and stepping into that emotional maturity and recognizing that those emotions have power and you have power. Like, it's your magic. Truly, it's your magic. So what can you build with it? What can you create from it? And so it allows us to look at the very difficult experiences of life and find ways to help plant seeds of flowers and then help them to bloom, right? And again, this goes back to that 13-4. And when I'm talking about a 13-4 cycle, I usually talk about like the lotus flower. So because again, the lotus flower, blooms out of the mud in the most unexpected places, this beautiful bloom of the lotus flower. And that's really 13-4 energy. It's that creation of beauty from the most unexpected places. And so for you all, especially getting the 3 of Swords coming through, something that has felt impossible or insurmountable or something that has just brought you to your knees, you have an opportunity for the next 6 months to a year to really, I don't want to say like transcend that pain, because you have to obviously feel it to heal it and all that, but find productive, constructive ways to manage that pain, but to transmute that pain into something, well, beautiful. Life path number 7, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 14-5 for this eclipse. So over the course of the next 6 months to a year, as this new storyline unfolds for you all, you could notice that a variety of experiences occur that urge you to slow down and to think about sort of where you've been and where you're going. And so you might be asked to modify some of your lifestyle at this time, or sort of bring things into greater moderation. Find your center. Make sure that the decisions that you're making and sort of the actions that you're taking are coming from that center point as opposed to the extremes. And again, as 7s, a lot of times 7s can either be like really extremely in their body, in their mind, like over analytical, or they can be sort of trying to bypass the human experience, sort of in the ether somewhere. And so you're really meant to bring it back to center and be the bridge between those, the physical and the unseen, and bring your ideas to life, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you move through like a 14-5 cycle, which is also karmic, so it's going to likely require a bit more effort than some of the other cycles might require. But it's helping you to come back to center. It's helping you come back and see where it is, like, again, some shifts and changes might be needed. This is also one of those times where if you are feeling creative, or you're feeling like you want to express that creativity in some way, you might find that you're able to find a better outlet, or an outlet that really speaks to you, that will help you to share that creativity in some way. So it's almost like with this cycle, again, next 6 months to a year or so, you could be birthing something new into the world. Now, it can be an actual, having a child. It can be a creative project or something like that. But there's likely going to be an opportunity, or many opportunities, to latch onto a creative outlet that either you're creating for yourself to be able to express yourself better, or aligned with your gifts, etc. Or you'll stumble across some kind of outlet that allows you to feel very much aligned with the messaging you're putting out into the world, your gifts that you're putting out into the world, how you're showing up, how you're contributing, etc. And so I would say be very open to that, all while recognizing that it might require more effort than the average bear. So don't give up too soon. Because you have the vibration of the 4, it's requiring persistence and longevity and, perseverance, and to continue to overcome the obstacles or the opposition that you might face with whatever this may be. And you can do that. You can do it. You just have to commit to it and keep going, especially if it's something that you really want for yourself. And then with the 5 energy, it's asking you to release yourself from, anything that's holding you back, to step into that greater sense of freedom, whether it's greater sense of freedom of expression, or the opportunity to change something in your life, shift gears, move, allow yourself to be more free. And this can be a very freeing experience if you give yourself permission to do that. So anywhere where you've been overly rigid, or overly sort of stuck in your ways, or even self-deprivating in some way, this cycle can really help you to break free from that, and to recognize like not only what's needed, but like what decisions and actions you need to make in order to move in that direction, and what to commit to in order to see the rewards of that. And again, because there's 4 energy, this is not like overnight success. This is something where it's going to take work. It's going to take dedication. And it could just be you feeling that that urge to be you and express yourself fully as yourself, and authentically and uniquely as yourself, without apology. And that sounds so easy, but sometimes it can be one of the most difficult things for us to do. So you might feel called in that direction, but there likely will be opportunities to do things that are maybe outside of your comfort zone a bit, or that feel uncomfortable. But this is such a beautiful time to recognize that if you're being called in that direction and it lights you up and you feel excited about it, this is the time to say yes to it, to commit to it, and to see it through to completion, because it will be freeing for you in some way. Now, this is also a cycle where you could see competitive situations come up. And I would say, just remember, you get to choose how you engage. You get to choose how you expend your energy. You get to choose who you surround yourself with, and who gets to be a part of that, who gets to experience your energy. So choose wisely. Don't give that power away. If someone wants to compete with you, let them. You know what I mean? You don't have to compete with them back. Just let them compete with you. Stay in your lane and keep moving forward, and you're going to achieve what it is that you're looking to achieve for yourself. Really beautiful energy here for you all. Now I pulled a tarot card for you, and you got the Two of Cups. So there's definitely an emphasis here on relationships. And also I would say relationships that could be holding you back, but also relationships that open you up, that feel freeing, that feel supportive, that feel, that they're your biggest cheerleaders. So again, you get to choose where you invest your time and your energy. So choose wisely. Also with the Two of Cups, you could see some healing take place when it comes to some kind of connection or several connections, where if there was, some kind of discord or breakdown of that connection, you could see an opportunity come in to see eye to eye, to have the conversations, to get it back to a place of harmony and balance where the highest good of all involved is really focused on. And so I would say if the opportunity presents, have the conversations, seek out that healing. It doesn't mean to become a doormat or to be taken advantage of, or, no, we're looking for an equal exchange of energy within all of our connections. So if you're not getting that, then this is a beautiful time to have those conversations. And you might see some of those connections fall away, but through the conversations and through, again, showing up and putting in the effort, the ones that are truly meant for you are going to stick around. And not only stick around, there's going to be that equal exchange of energy. There's going to be that support and that healing vibration. But it is going to require you to be vulnerable, to be trusting, to open up, and to have those conversations and seek out that understanding, while also speaking up for yourself and advocating for yourself and all those things. And for some of you, and this might be a rare few, but for some of you, this could be some kind of greater union. So like marriage, or taking the relationship to the next level, or or connecting with someone that feels like a soul contract or some kind of divine union in that sense. So relationships are definitely on the forefront for the next 6 months to a year for you all. So you could meet someone very, very significant at this time that can have a very healing presence in your life as well. Life path number 8, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 15-6 for this eclipse. And so relationships are really like in the spotlight for the next, I would say, 6 months to a year. And not just relationships, but significant changes to your home are very possible. So you could move, you could do something to beautify your space. You could sell your home, you could buy a home. People could be moving in or out of your home is very possible at this time. You could be having children or adopting pets at this time. Also, there's depth to this as well. It could bring to surface some deeper concerns that maybe you have that you've been maybe sweeping under the rug that need to come to light. And so you could find yourself sort of initiating conversations with people where understanding needs to be sought in order to understand what's going on in the situation, because it might not be as it appears. And this is really going to be geared more towards like roommates or friends, partners, family, close community, where maybe some things went a little bit south or there was some miscommunication. And so now there's likely going to be an opportunity to deal with it, to have the conversation and to seek that understanding so that everyone involved can move to a higher octave and towards what's best for all involved. Now, with this 15-6, there's also this sort of push-pull between like unconditional love and conditional love. And so within your deeper connections, you could have this opportunity to reevaluate or to see more clearly where it is that within those connections, there's either an equal exchange of energy where, again, each is showing up, meeting the person where they're at. But you could also see where within your connections, you're being met with a tremendous amount of expectation or conditions in order to receive that respect, that love, whatever. Or maybe you're showing up to a connection with a lot of expectation on the other person or conditions on the other person that you need to have met before you will trust them, show them that love, show them that support, etc. And so for the next 6 months to a year, there's going to be, again, a spotlight put on that so that you can gain that deeper understanding of where some shifts need to be made within your connections. And this can certainly lead to, separations. If a relationship was not strong or sturdy or healthy, you could see those fall away at this time or throughout the next, like I said, year or so. But it can also strengthen your relationships, that understanding where you need to cut yourself or the other person some slack. You need to maybe meet them where they're at, or they need to meet you where you're at, where the two of you need to work towards that equal exchange of energy so that one person is not overgiving and one person is not overtaking. So it can really help your relationships to flourish as you move through this 15-6 cycle. And it's going to be really important to be very present with those connections and be very present with yourself to understand what is it that you want out of your connections. What is it that you're actually getting out of those connections? And how are you showing up to them? And so it helps you kind of reevaluate and gain a lot more freedom within those relationships and allow the other person to have a lot more freedom within those relationships to where it moves towards something much more healthy. Now, this can also, because, like our work, where we spend most of our time, even though it's not considered like a deeper connection, can also come into play. And the sort of the relationship that we have with our colleagues, with our, of management and our subordinates, however this kind of comes into play. And it may affect your finances in some way and your career, or again, like the job that you show up to each and every day. And there may be some adjustments that are made that hopefully will lead towards that environment being much more healthy for all involved, especially if it was a little bit more toxic. You could also see during this time that if you were working from home, you might have to go back to like a brick and mortar building. If you were in a brick and mortar, you might find that you are able to work from home if that's something that you've wanted to do. So there could be these significant shifts in, again, your home life in some way. And certainly how we feel about our connections and our relationships affects our home life. So I would say during this time, just be very open to initiating those important conversations, being open to what the other person has to say as well, like being very cognizant of creating those safe spaces so that everyone involved can share what they need and their concerns and what they need to thrive, what they want, their desires, and to not be overly reactive if what they're saying doesn't align with what you want. So this could be, like I said, a cycle where if the connection is not strong, is not healthy, it will likely fall apart. And there could be some separation there. But again, if all involved are willing to do the work to create greater harmony and balance and that equal exchange of energy, then this can be a cycle that really strengthens those ties to where they become almost indestructible. So it can be very, very powerful for that. And I should also emphasize that it's not just sort of those relationships that are in focus at this time. There may also be a lot of opportunities for greater progress to come through in order to create some kind of radical change in your life or your lifestyle that can ultimately release you from any limitations that you might be moving through or anything you've kind of been struggling with that's been holding you back or keeping you stuck. And so it can allow for that greater sense of freedom of expression. So again, if you have those connections or again, work or whatever, where you haven't been able to fully express yourself or advocate for yourself or speak up, this is going to be one of those times that pushes you in that direction. And you may find that any sort of long-held views or belief systems, especially faulty belief systems, could change at this time. And those newfound beliefs or those new perspectives can absolutely help you to, get rid of any of those old fears or self-doubt or anything you need to kind of overcome that will help you to finally move forward in that area of your life. And so this is going to be a time that's going to require you to make some significant decisions and then to take decisive action without holding yourself back and without self-sabotaging yourself as well, or sabotaging the connection. So for the next 6 months to a year, you're going to have significant opportunities to sort of have these checkpoints that'll give you an opportunity to decide whether the experiences of this cycle are actually limiting you or setting you free. And obviously you want to move in the direction of being set free. That's going to be really, really important. Using your discernment and seeing below the surface is going to be important as well, because the situation isn't always as it seems. So you got to dig deeper. And that's where seeking out the truth of the situation, having the conversations, initiating those conversations will serve you really well. I pulled the tarot card for you all, and you got the Knight of Swords. So there will certainly be some things likely that will be coming up for you from your past. Could be past relationships, could be those relationships where you see a need to have those conversations to bring greater peace and harmony or balance into that connection. And one thing I would say is obviously be open to what surfaces for you over the course of the next 6 months to a year, and have those conversations as they are needed, but be very careful about your reactivity. Just make sure that, you are contributing towards creating that safe space where everyone can share how they feel, what they need, what they desire, and then together you all can decide how to move forward from there. And it might mean separation, it might mean moving in a different direction. And everyone involved is going to have to decide and choose how to do that in a healthy way, as opposed to a destructive way. Also, I would say this is not a time to be overly impulsive or overly hasty. Taking risks, yes, I think that you're going to need to take risks during this time. You're going to possibly need to be vulnerable when it's uncomfortable. But being overly hasty or being overly impulsive could backfire. So just take your time, be really mindful of being responsive as opposed to reactionary, because that's going to really truly play into the experience that you'll likely have and the outcome of that as well. So seeking understanding and then being open to what comes from that is going to be the key for making sure that your experiences, these connections, are constructive rather than destructive. Life path number 9, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 16-7 for this eclipse. So there will likely be some very transformative aha moments, some deeper clarity that comes in for you over the next 6 months to a year that can truly change your life, and hopefully for the better. It can help you to see where some significant shifts and necessary changes are necessary. It can also bring up for you where it is that you feel disconnected or sort of out of balance when it comes to your holistic health, body, mind, spirit. So you might feel called during this time to dig deeper, go into the depths of your own psyche, into, what it is that, again, like you want for yourself, what direction you want your life to take. What are your goals? What is it that you continue to invest your energy in? How are you showing up? How does it feel? There's an opportunity here to go really deep over the next year in discovering who you are and what you want now, because it is very likely very different from maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. And so this is an opportunity to really take those moments for, self-contemplation, self-evaluation, and recognize that things likely have changed, or maybe you've evolved in a certain way, or maybe, life has taken you in a certain direction. So this is a great cycle to just go really deep and determine if the path that you're on, the relationships that you hold, where you invest your time, how you engage, does it feel aligned and good for you? And if there's an area that doesn't, then this cycle is going to push you to go deeper into it to see what is needed in order to bring you into greater alignment. And there might be some difficult decisions that need to be made over the next year, but that those difficult decisions or those obstacles that you might face are actually helping you into that greater alignment. Anytime we move through a 16-7 cycle, it is that opportunity to course correct. And but sometimes that course correction under this cycle can feel like you're being pushed to make changes you're not necessarily ready to make, or that you don't feel that you're ready to make. And you might not even feel that they're necessary to make those changes, or that it's necessary. But if it's coming in under a 16-7 cycle and the focus or the emphasis is put on some area of your life, and you feel that push, or you're experiencing something that is pushing you to shift gears, then it's for your highest good. the goal of the 16-7 is always to help us to rise above those obstacles, right? But we have to move through them in order to do that. So in order to sort of level up, to step into a higher octave, we have to move through those physical experiences that can be very difficult at times to move through. And the mirror will likely be held up in front of you to show you where it is that you're standing in your own way, or you might be sabotaging yourself, or you might be letting life sort of drag you down, right? A lot of times life experiences can be challenging, can be difficult, but we have to recognize that nothing is more powerful than the soul. So any obstacle that we're facing, we can absolutely overcome, obviously, unless it's like death. And for that, it's like, that is leveling up, you know what I mean? Through having completed your journey on this planet. So my point is, there's really nothing that you can't handle, whether it's on your own or whether it's calling in for support, whatever that might be. But when the 16-7 comes through, it's karmic, and so it does require a lot of effort. Anytime we have a karmic cycle, there's a tremendous amount of effort that's required, and it's on us to show up and put in that effort. So the change will happen, but how you experience that change or that transformation, how, what you learn from it, what you gain from it, will be dependent on whether or not you are open to these changes and you flow with the energy, or you fight it. So just be aware that any losses during this time, or anything that shifts you in a different direction, though it might not feel like it in that precise moment, it is absolutely shifting you towards something that is much better, much more aligned, very much more in touch with your soul and where your soul wants to be taking you. So this can be a very highly spiritual time as well. So you all are 9s, and so you might find that the veil is very thin for the next 6 months to a year or so. And you could tap into gifts that you didn't know you had. You might sort of see those gifts be amplified. You might find different uses for those talents or innate gifts. It's a very, or potentially very, spiritual time. So pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to your intuitive hits. Your intuition is going to be your greatest North Star during this time. And it can really help you to overcome any pessimism, any cynical sort of outlook that you might have, that you sort of accumulated through your experiences thus far. But the 16-7 kind of comes in and sort of breaks through anything that's sort of calcified, anything that's become too rigid, right? So this is an opportunity for greater clarity, greater understanding on, your relationships, on your career, on the direction that you should be moving or need to be moving or want to be moving in. And so the key is that once those aha moments come in for you, once that clarity, that deeper awareness, that deeper understanding, it's important that you are decisive and discerning in how to take action from that clarity, and don't stay stuck in something that is clearly no longer working. Now, this can be a very intense cycle, but it can also be incredibly rewarding and very beautiful. And so you might see, again, because there's so much spiritual energy here and the channel is wide open, you could see your creative talents really flow at this time. And so those creative talents can help you to, or can kind of spark something that opens you up to a future goal that could be quite successful and bring in some good fortune in the future. So bright prospects, new opportunities could absolutely present themselves at this time, especially after you go through those significant shifts. And it's almost like the universe showing you why the shifts were necessary, why we had to shift gears, and why it was so important to take action from that greater awareness. Now, also, like I said, the potential for some kind of loss, potentially, in relationships or career or job or housing or whatever, is quite great under a 16-7, but so is the potential for, financial gain, fame, prosperity, fulfillment, significant fulfillment down the road. All the material rewards can be yours as long as you're not obsessed with the ownership of them. And the 16-7 kind of helps us to break free from any attachments, any sense of ownership that we might have, to show us that we don't have to have that sense of ownership. We don't have to be overly attached in order to reap the benefits of that experience. So very, very spiritual cycle for you all. And at the center of it is you. So you get to decide the outcome. All right, I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the Hermit, very, very much aligned with this energy. I mean, the Hermit is always pushing us back to ourselves, is bringing us back home to ourselves. And so during the next 6 months to a year, I would say your greatest North Star is your intuition, your inner guidance system. Listen to that over everything else. Drown out the external noise. Because when it comes down to making the important decisions from these shifts that will likely occur, it's going to be important that you are making those decisions from a place of your inner knowing, of what feels right for you in this moment, that you're moving down a path that you want to be moving down, that feels aligned for you, and where you can be of greatest service, once you fall into that greater alignment. So above all else, trust yourself. The external could be feeding you something, that's not entirely accurate. That's why it's going to be really important to break through the illusions, to see things for how they are, to ask the questions, to, be discerning when it comes to what you say yes to, what you say no to, what you overly dismiss perhaps. So coming back to yourself, trusting your gut, trusting that intuition is going to be important, and not being overly reactive. It's okay to take your time. It's okay to ask questions, to gather information, and then to take your time before you respond in some way. So, and that's going to be really important because you're going to have to be taking the information from the external, but also merging that with what you know to be true for yourself and what you want and what you need, etc., before you make those important decisions. So coming back to yourself is going to be, like I said, that's going to be the light that you need to move forward, because there might be a lot of fog kind of, clouding your judgment, let's say that, over the next 6 months to a year. Even though these aha moments and awakenings could be coming in for you, there's still a lot of, in the external, there's a lot of fog. So you will have a deeper understanding for yourself, a deeper knowing, but you're going to have to move through that fog with that deeper understanding of self and that intuition. That's going to be your greatest guidepost. So keep coming back to that. Don't second guess yourself. Trust yourself. Have the conversations, and like I said, let the external inform, but don't let it decide for you what's next. That's going to be really, really important over the next 6 months to a year for you all. And you could see some significant changes in your relationships, career, your values, your sense of worth, all of these things, how you see yourself can shift significantly over the next 6 months to a year. So allow those shifts to happen and then make your decisions accordingly. Life Path 11-2, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 18-9 for this eclipse. And so this could be a cycle that feels a little bit more sensitive. It is a full moon lunar eclipse. And so, emotions could be running high. You could feel very sensitive to, how other people sort of react or respond to you, or sort of how you read into a situation. So I would say this is a great time to have conversations to gain or sort of seek that deeper understanding. Also, because you're ultimately moving through a 9 cycle, that just opens the floodgates sort of for connecting to spirit, to the unseen, to sort of the more spiritual side of things. And usually when we do that, we can be very sensitive. So sensitive to energy, sensitive to, again, just the outside world. So just be really gentle with yourself throughout this cycle, and try to not allow yourself to read too much into things. Again, instead of that, just have the conversations or initiate the conversation so that you can get the clarity that's needed that will allow you to process whatever's happening in a healthy way. This is one of those cycles, and again, likely for the next 6 months to a year, where throughout this cycle, you're going to be asked to slow down and to find that greater balance in your life. So if things have felt really fast-paced, if you felt a little overwhelmed maybe by what you have on your plate or what could potentially be coming in that you're going to have to be working with, this is one of those times to, work on your schedule, to schedule in time for rest, relaxation, self-soothing, etc. Make sure you're not burning the candle at both ends, because you will burn out. And that will affect your, what inspires you and your inspiration and your creativity. So Be really mindful of, what your body needs now, what your body, mind, spirit needs now. If your body is saying, hey, I want more movement, then exercise more. If you need more, greater nutrition, then eat better, right? Like find the foods that feel nourishing for you. If you're not sleeping well, find ways to get more sleep in throughout the day, or to sleep better at night. So again, it's just really listening to what your body is asking for, and then finding ways to give that to yourself. Because if you're not feeling well, then you're not able to show up well in the world, and it can sort of have that domino effect. So this is just a really beautiful sort of cycle for getting reacquainted with yourself and what it is that makes you feel good and what it is that you need in order to feel good, and giving yourself permission to give yourself that. So it's bringing your focus back to yourself and to your temple, right? And where the soul sits. So give yourself permission to put your health, holistic health first. Now, for some of you, you could find that your dreams are very active at this time. So, you might have sort of a vivid imagination. Your creativity might just be going, on high drive. There's possibly new plans, new ideas that could be forming in your mind. You could be going down all kinds of rabbit holes. And so I would say this is a great time to invest in a journal if you don't have one, and write it down. You don't have to, and you will likely get overwhelmed by everything, like all the downloads, all the information that might be coming into you through your dreams, through your daydreams, through just the downloads, right, that can kind of come in. And I would say just write it down. Don't pressure yourself on having to know what to do with it. Don't pressure yourself in having to have all your ducks in a row right now. Anytime we move through a 9 cycle, it's just not the best time to initiate or to sort of force things to happen, because likely it won't last very long, or you're going to have to revisit it and rework it in some way. So this is that cycle where, again, writing it down and giving yourself ample time to come back to it and be curious about it and do a little bit of digging, whatever's necessary, giving yourself an opportunity to get inspired by what's coming in for you, will give you will sort of put you in a better place to be able to formulate some kind of plan, some kind of system that will help you to not only sort of pursue that, but to actually implement it and to bring it to fruition. Because that's not going to happen overnight, but by being aware and cognizant of, again, those your dreams and what those messages might be trying to show you, the ideas that could be coming through, the inspirations, this is such a beautiful sort of fertile time to just write them down and play in that realm of imagination. And you will likely find that through that process, you are coming up with a plan. You are deciding which goals to follow. You are sort of mapping the road to that success, and you will likely see success. So pay attention to, again, like the inspirations and ideas that come in for you for the next 6 months to a year. But don't put the pressure on yourself to feel like you have to achieve it right now, or you have to reach that goal right now. It's more about planting the seeds, nurturing those seeds, being curious about those seeds and seeing how they grow, and not forcing it. And I would say, the people, places, things will come in for you to help you to achieve whatever it is that you set your sights on of achieving, especially over the next 6 months to a year. But don't force it. Just take your time. Be curious, where things flow, follow that flow. If you feel stuck, then take your foot off the gas for a little while, because the information that you need will present itself to you. You just have to be open to it. And if you're trying to force something to happen, you probably won't like the results, and you're just going to feel burnout, frustrated, overwhelmed. So put your energy where the flow is, and you'll see the greatest momentum over the next 6 months to a year. And be open to what comes in for you, because they're likely little golden nuggets that when you put it all together, you're going to have like a significant bar of gold down the road. So keep track. And I pulled the tarot card for you all, and you've got the Lovers. And so what immediately comes up for me with this is the need for some kind of a decision, or that there's possibly going to be some choices that you have to make. that there will be options, and you'll have to choose which option works best for you, which one sort of highlights your creativity, your inspirations, which ones feel most aligned. And in that decision, there might be some difficulty in that decision. And so you're going to have to overcome that difficulty in order to, make the decision and in order to take action from that decision. So you could see that come in at this time, but you have to understand that by trusting yourself and following, again, what inspires you, what feels in spirit, what feels most aligned, where it feels like you're really being called, you're going to get the most out of that experience. If you're allowing sort of the external noise to dictate your decisions or your choices, then, you might have to come back and try again. And that's okay. But this is a time for making decisions. And again, I say it doesn't have to be concrete necessarily in this moment, because you're also working with that 9 cycle that's saying, let's just plant what we want to plant and nurture it and see how it blooms. And then we can decide what we want to harvest from that. So, I would say with the Lovers card coming up in conjunction with the 18-9, it's that opportunity to like you're getting all these seeds, right? Watermelon seeds, pumpkin seeds, flower seeds, blah, blah, blah. Just a tremendous amount of seeds. And that would be like your downloads, right? Your inspirations coming in, your dreams, etc. You're getting all this sort of information, but let's just keep it in the metaphor. You're getting all these seeds. If you don't like watermelon, don't plant the watermelon seeds. Don't even go there. Like give them away, give them to someone else. But if you love flowers, a particular flower, plant those seeds. That's what you nurture. That's what you are hoping to grow. If you like pumpkins, plant pumpkins. But with all the sort of downloads and information coming your way, you've got to kind of make those choices and decisions about which ones you want to bring in and sort of embrace, and which ones you want to let go. And that's okay too, without forcing. And by that, I mean, if you don't like watermelon, don't force yourself to like watermelon. Don't plant watermelon and then be upset that watermelon grew, right? Don't force yourself. You don't like it, so release it. Let it go. Focus on the things that are in flow, that you like, that are coming in for you at this time, and decide how you want to work with it. Now, on the flip side of that, for some of you, this could be, quite literally a divine connection coming in for you around this time, especially because it's 9 energy. And when we're in 9 energy, the veil is very thin. And so soul contracts can come in, soulmates, twin flames. It's an opening for divine connection. And with the Lovers coming through, that's just amplified. So for some of you, this can be a very significant time for you when it comes to that deep, deep soul connection, and meeting that special someone is very, very possible. Or taking your relationship to the next level if you're currently in a relationship in a way that feels very divinely guided. Life Path 22-4. So we're going to be working with the vibration of the 29-11-2. So it does incorporate the master number 11-2, which is the inspirational leader, what inspires us, where we feel drawn towards, what puts us in spirit in some way. But also because it's a master number, then there is usually more effort required in order to reap the rewards of this cycle. So, it will likely be that the next 6 months to a year will require a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, a lot of showing up, a lot of persistence, a lot of overcoming the challenges. Nothing that we're not used to as 22-4s though. So nothing we can't handle. But just like with any master number, it requires more effort, but it promises great rewards. So it's worth the effort. I would say during this time, just kind of be the observer at times and see where opportunities come your way, where they present. And I say that because they might come in different packaging than what you're looking for. And, if you're expecting this gift, whatever it might be, to come, or the reward or the opportunity to come in a red package, but it shows up in a tiny blue package, you might not recognize it for what it is, or you might not see the potential that's there. And so it's going to be really important that you're curious, that you are open, that you explore the many different pathways that you might be taking for the next 6 months to a year, the different rabbit holes that you can go down. And not to the point where you get overwhelmed, but my point is just be open to the opportunities that present. And just recognize like, okay, don't be too quick to dismiss if it looks different than what you expect it to be, because what can happen with 22/4s a lot of times is, we're very solution focused. And so when we get our mindset on something, if something looks different or if a pathway looks different, we don't usually entertain it as readily because we already see the solution. We already know the direction we're moving in. We already know how it's supposed to end, or we think we do. But what we tend to do is sort of restrict what can come in for us. We restrict that energy. So we have to be very fluid. We have to be very adaptable to the potential of, what's possible. And we can only do that if we're open to the opportunities, even if they look different than what we want them to or expect them to. So this is one of those cycles where I would say, just use your good judgment, use your insights, evaluate the offers that are presented to you at this time, and try not to overlook or ignore any possibilities. It doesn't mean that you're saying yes to everything that comes on your desk, right? Or on your doorstep. Doesn't mean that you are obligated to say yes to it all, but sort of do your due diligence to explore the potential. And that might open you up to greater opportunities than you never would have even fathomed for yourself. So just pay attention, be the observer. Don't be too quick. Don't be too impulsive when it comes to dismissing or making decisions too quickly around the opportunities that might present. And some of those opportunities might even be from your own imagination, your own download, your own dreams. And sometimes I think too, because of like self-doubt or imposter syndrome or whatever might come in for you, it's easy to dismiss those ideas because they seem too unattainable or too big or too impossible. And then I would ask you to sort of dissect why you feel it's impossible, because then you might recognize where you might have some limitations and where you can call in the reinforcements and where people can help you, where you might have those limitations. And it might just be the limitation is, faulty belief systems about yourself and what you're capable of. So there's a lot here to discover about ourselves and what's possible and what we're capable of, which is really important for master builders. We're meant to build something of a legacy in this world. We're meant to be those teachers in this world who bring the greater solutions into the world in some way through our contributions, through our gifts, through our talents. And if we second guess ourselves or don't give ourselves enough credit, or we don't recognize our worth, or we're not open to new opportunities and different ways of doing things, we can really sell ourselves short and sabotage, the whole process. I feel like this cycle is an opportunity to open ourselves up to what is possible, not get stuck in what feels impossible. I know that sounds really trite and cliche, but really, this is one of those cycles where I feel like we could really open ourselves up to it and recognize a lot about ourselves that we just couldn't see before. Now, sort of the shadow side of this energy, if we're kind of stuck in that negativity, it can bring in uncertainty. It can foster those fears. It can really promote those fears. We could find that we, connect with people who are unreliable or, are disappointing or bring in some kind of disappointment. So we could have a hard time making decisions, so it's going to be really important that we're aware of where we are allowing our sort of faulty belief systems or negative behaviors to influence the experience. So really what I love about this cycle, and again, this is going to be for the next 6 months to a year, so this is not going to happen overnight. But what I really love about this cycle is that it gives us an opportunity to really, truly continue to tap into our inner powers and to bring those talents and those gifts out into the light and to try them out, to test them out, right? To take them for a ride, take them for a run. And, we're able to see what our talents are worth by putting them into practical use. And if we can do this, and if we can do it wisely, then we can be very successful in that process. So, I pulled a tarot card for us, and we got the 7 of Wands. And so, this really kind of aligns with 4 energy as well as 22-4 energy pretty well. And there's a couple reads with this, right? So this is one of those ones where I would say be very mindful of getting stuck in your ways over the next 6 months to a year. Be really mindful of, staying stuck in that mindset of it's my way or the highway, or this is the best way to do it. This is the only way to do it, because that's going to keep you very, very stuck and you're not going to get the most out of this experience. You really have to be open over the course of the next year and try new things, be curious, think outside the box, be open to new perspectives of different ways of doing things, of allowing others to, do things their way. And we become sort of the follower in a sense, right? Like we become the support system in that could show up this year as well. So we just have to be really careful about, not needing to be right or needing to have it our way. That's going to be really important. And I'm speaking as a 22-4. So, just be open to that. And the other thing I would say, the other read on this would be, choose your battles wisely. Like if it's something that you feel very strongly about, if it's something that it's a part of the greater vision that, needs to be, fulfilled, and you feel very strongly about that, then yeah, stand up for that, speak up for that, stand your ground. But I would just say be very discerning about choosing those hills that you want to die on, if that makes sense, right? Like be discerning about like the battles you choose to sort of not fight, but where it is that you choose to stand your ground without any kind of give. This is going to be really, really, really important over the next year, and like understanding there's a fine line there. So you don't want to like sacrifice your vision or your ideas or your gifts or whatever, or yourself by any means. But you also don't want to be so rigid that you're not open to what's possible. And there's so much that's possible, or what you're capable of. So take your time and choose wisely. Life Path 33-6, you all are going to be working with a vibration of the 44, so 404 for this eclipse. And this is one of those cycles that, of course, is heavy 4 energy. So it's really asking you to get focused, get serious, commit to something, and use your good judgment, critical thinking, be practical. Like it's okay to, because obviously 33s are typically very creative and connected to, their inspiration. But it's going to be important to kind of ground some of that and be practical, find that practical way to bring your ideas, your inspirations, your gifts to life. And so again, it's okay to have your head in the clouds, but just make sure that your feet are firmly planted on the ground type of energy. And so this is also one of those cycles, again, I would say for the next 6 months to a year, where you're going to be asked to find your system, find your strategy for bringing things to fruition. And you could also find that you're being shown a new way of approaching something, a new way of committing to something and persevering and not giving up too quickly, especially if it's something that you feel heart-led in that direction. But using your good judgment is going to be really important over this cycle, and not kind of allowing yourself to go down the rabbit hole of what if, or what could be, or what should have been, or, or allowing the stories in your head to sort of take control. This is a cycle that's saying, let's use our critical thinking skills to make sure that we are seeing the situation for how it is and not how we maybe want it to be or how we think it is. This cycle can also be great for, like I said, getting your ducks in a row, planning. You might find new techniques, new perspectives that can help you to implement your ideas in a different way. That's very possible. This is a building cycle. So what are you building, or what do you want to build at this time? And it might be something that's very tangible, that's very of the physical world. So maybe you're building a house, maybe you're building a business, maybe you're building on a relationship. Maybe you're building, on your own health and your own body. That's a good use of this energy. Anything that makes you feel more solid, more grounded, more secure. That's a great use of this cycle. It's also a cycle that, again, is asking you to get serious about something. So it can be your finances. It can be, if you're wanting to have children or expand your family, then what do you need to do in order to make sure that you're prepared for that, or as prepared for that as you can be? Maybe you want to move overseas, so there's going to be a lot of paperwork and a lot of investigative work you have to do to figure out what's needed in order to do that. So these double fours are pushing you to get focused, to get serious, to dedicate your time and energy to bringing whatever this is to life. And whatever this is will likely require a tremendous amount of effort, but that effort is always rewarded in direct proportion to the effort you put in, especially when we're talking about four energy. So anything you set your sights on during this time, just know it's not going to happen overnight. You likely won't see that overnight success, but you will see that success in time. So don't give up too quickly. Continue to persevere, overcome the challenges and the obstacles that will likely come your way with this energy, but it's helping you to build something better and to make sure that the foundation you're building up it on is solid and secure and will hopefully last the test of time in some way. This cycle requires that you're systematic and that you invest wisely. And if you do that, then again, it can be a very fruitful and rewarding cycle. Now, because this is a foundational cycle, there can be some breaks, some separations that need to occur in order for you to get your house in order, so to speak. So if there's, cracks in your foundation and you can't mend those cracks, then this would be a cycle where you might see those cracks fall away. And, it could be a relationship, a job, belief systems, etc., that are sort of feeding into creating more cracks. So the nature of this cycle is to pay attention to the finer details, and that's going to show you where something is not working. And then you can either figure out how to make it work, or you can find a way to release it and then, replace it with something that does work. And also this cycle is one of those ones where, you might have to face some obstacles, but this is a cycle that reminds you that those obstacles, those challenges are absolutely necessary to get you to where you want to be. It's to help you to see what is working, what is not, what to build on, what to release. And so any obstacles that present themselves at this time are helping you to see why you had to come this way, why you have to do it differently, why you have to potentially make the adjustments you're being asked to make, or why you need to shift gears and go down the detour that the universe is asking you to go down. So it all serves a greater purpose, and this 44 energy helps you to see that and then to make your decisions accordingly. I pulled the tarot card for you all, and you got the King of Cups. And so there's definitely something here about emotional maturity coming through. There's definitely this energy that you may be called to have to be the bigger person in a situation, be really mindful of your responsiveness and not your reactivity. You don't want to burn down bridges that can be mended or that can be healed in some way. So just be very mindful of your words, of your actions. It can be frustrating at times when you're showing up in a higher road or a higher octave and the person or the people that you're connecting with are not. But that's part of that emotional maturity. That's part of that, ultimately, the 33-6 that you're being asked to step into. And it's not about sacrifice or becoming a doormat. We know this. It's really about you being in control of your emotions, you being in control of the experience or the experiences that you want to actually have in this lifetime, and not letting someone else dictate that by getting your emotions ramped up and creating that, causing that reactivity. We're always in control or in charge and responsible for how we respond or react to a situation. And usually that's what creates our experience. So we want to be mindful of that. And with the King of Cups coming through, it's that reminder that we have the best experiences in life when we are in control of our emotions, when we are channeling those emotions into something constructive rather than destructive, when we're able to be the observer and see what's actually happening, where the disconnect is, and how we can, be the connector in some way without sacrificing self or our needs in some way. The other side of this, of course, is this could be a really emotionally sensitive time for you. And I would say that because, again, we're working with double fours, then this is the perfect time to, sit with your emotions, to feel what you're being asked to feel, to maybe find the support that's necessary in order to allow you to do that. So maybe a therapist or a healer or whatever, but anything that allows you to, let your emotions come to the surface and to really sit with them and get to know them, and then find a way to channel them in a way that feels healthy and not toxic. This cycle can be very helpful for that. So again, you could very well see things bubble to the surface, emotions bubble to the surface that you haven't dealt with from your past, from recent events, that now is the time to, again, to sit with them, have a cup of coffee with them and get to know them, feel them, express them, and move forward and find a better way to move forward. Life Path 44.8, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 51.6 for this eclipse. And so this can be a cycle that sort of tests your strength, your inner strength, especially when it comes to relationships or sort of your connections with others that feel very close to your heart. Or again, like things that are occurring like in your home. So there may be disagreements, there may be situations that occur that are pushing you to kind of not rise above it where you're like bypassing it, but rise above the situation enough to be able to be the observer, to see where something more is needed. And what I mean by that is when we move through strong 6 cycles, it has the potential to bring to the surface what needs to be dealt with, what needs to be addressed with family, friends, partners, colleagues, community, whatever. But those things where, again, we want to say something, or we want to speak up, or we want to advocate for ourselves, or we want to express ourselves in some way, or we feel like we've been misunderstood or whatever, sometimes it's easier just to sweep that under the carpet. And this cycle, again, because it's the 6 vibration, but also that a very high octave of the 6, which is a 51, it's saying that some kind of shift or change is needed within your experience, that can only really be achieved through dealing with the elephant in the room, dealing with the situation at hand. So you will likely see over the next 6 months to a year that things come to the surface that need your attention, that you can't continue to sort of suppress or ignore any longer. And for some, it might be, maybe you've been in a relationship that really isn't serving the highest good of all involved. And so, that conversation comes to light and you find yourself sort of parting ways over the next 6 months to a year. This is a cycle where, especially because it's happening under an eclipse, if something is not strong, if something is not healthy, then this energy will get in there and try to mend it, right? Through change, through transformation, through deeper understanding. And if it's not able to be mended, if it's served its time, it's served its purpose, then it may fall away. And you have to be prepared to be able to release that if it's in the highest good of all involved. So it truly gives us an opportunity to step into, again, the true vibration of the 6, which is truth, love, honesty, to be very honest with ourselves and to be very honest with others about what it is that we need, what it is that we want to achieve, what it is that, we're hoping for, and what it is that we need to thrive. And so again, it might be that conversation with your boss or a colleague or just someone in your life where, again, you're just not fully expressing yourself in the way that you want to for fear of rocking the boat or causing conflict or whatever. And this cycle can really push you to sort of, take the reins. And you may be the one initiating the conversation, but if it's a needed conversation, then this is the time to seek that understanding and to create the environment that feels nurturing and supportive in order to have those more sensitive conversations. And, if you find that you are pursuing that and you're initiating that, but you're hitting a brick wall or you're not being received, it's not conducive to creating some kind of healthy environment or relationship, then this might be a cycle again where you see things or those connections or whatever it is kind of fall away, making space for something that's more aligned. So it could be a sensitive cycle in that regard. but it's ultimately helping you to step into that higher octave of the six, again, which is truth, love, and honesty, and to be very honest with yourself and others, and then to follow through with that honesty and not sacrifice your needs or your desires or whatever it may be. And it also gives us an opportunity to come back to ourselves and have those deeper conversations with ourselves, right? So if you continue to show up to a situation or a relationship that is not serving you, that's not fulfilling, that doesn't feel aligned for you, but you continue to show up to it because you feel obligated or whatever it may be, or maybe you don't feel like you deserve better or whatever, this is going to be one of those cycles that really remind you of your worth. And that can sometimes happen through those deeper experiences with ourselves. But sometimes we have to be confronted with that before we can truly realize, like, wow, why am I showing up to this? Why do I keep engaging in this? Why do I keep investing my time and energy into this if I don't even want this, or if this is not even serving myself or the highest good of all involved? Like, what am I doing? And so it can be that opportunity for a redirect, and a really important one at that. It's one of those cycles where it'll be really hard to not see the truth of a situation and what's a falsehood of that situation. And then it's up to you to decide, again, what action to take from that greater awareness. This energy in this cycle also requires that you are very present, so that you kind of stay impartial and sort of unbiased when it comes to certain situations where you're the observer. And it's not like putting yourself on a pedestal and judging what's happening. It's more just being the observer, being very present to fully see what's taking place, because that's how you're going to make the most informed decisions for what's next, what's the next step for you in that situation, whatever the situation may be for you. But it's going to be important not to let your emotions take over, or not allow your fear or worry to take over, or regrets from the past to take over. This is a very present, very like solid type of energy that's reminding you that you can only make the best decisions and take the best actions for you and your family, or all involved, when you're present. And so there's going to be that opportunity over the course of the next 6 months to a year for you to come back to the present moment and see what you're actually working with and what you actually need in this moment. And that's going to help to inform, obviously, your future. Also, it'll help you to find your confidence to know that the decisions that you're making, the choices that you're making in this moment are what is best serving you in this moment. So the second guessing, the sort of sabotaging yourself or the situation kind of goes by the wayside because you feel very confident in your choices when you're very present. And this energy is helping you to come back to that moment. I pulled a tarot card for you all, and you got the 8 of Wands. So this is some very fast-moving energy. This is some insights, some, again, like aha moments, some deep clarity coming in quite quickly. And that correlates with the 5 in the 51-6 very well. So pay attention to, again, like your dreams, your insights, your ideas that come in quickly. And, you know, they might feel larger than life. They might feel unachievable. They might feel impossible. And again, I would have you sort of question your inner dialogue. Like, why does it feel impossible? Why do you think it's not achievable? Or why do you think you're not the one who can achieve it? Because this is really one of those cycles of recognizing your own value and your own worth and your own contribution, like what you have to bring to the table and why it's so valuable. So with this 8 of Wands coming through, not only could you have deeper insights, like lightning bolt aha moments and clarity, but you can also feel like you understand what's next, like what's the next step that needs to be taken in order for you to achieve your goals, in order for you to meet the moment and to show up in the way that the moment is asking you to show up. So it's going to be really important to pay attention to that and to not be too quick to dismiss it. And you could see a lot of momentum when you say yes and when you commit to, again, your goals of this moment and where you want to be moving towards, what you want to accomplish. you can start to see some momentum when you commit to it. It's almost like the universe conspires to help you to make it happen because you've committed to it and you've put yourself all in. So yeah, I would say, again, keep coming back to the present moment, check in with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I want in this moment? What is it that I need in this moment? And you're likely to see the opportunities present quite quickly, the ideas, the inspirations present quite quickly that can help you to achieve that. I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now.